said, okay, well, you have to get circumcised. So that happened, and I'll tell you that was torture of torture. And I'll tell you right now, is that to say, no, is that to say that I'll tell you the story and then you'll understand. But it's not to say that the rabbis were torturing me, no. But it was just, what happened is I remember exactly, I went into this place, it was like an Orthodox neighborhood, and it wasn't like a hospital or something, it was like, like a store, and you went inside, and I went to the back of the room, and they strapped me down. They only they put anesthesia, but like a local anesthesia, so I wasn't put to sleep. So when these guys were operating on me, I could see them, and I was screaming so loudly. It was like that was the torture part.
Wow.
And they told me afterwards, yeah, in me. But I was screaming because I know what they were doing. I mean, they were cutting a piece of my penis. I know it's the extra skin, but when you're a kid, it's still a part of your body. You don't understand all the details. So
right.
It was very torturing for the mind, psychologically.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but the interesting thing now. My mother's husband was a Sephardic Jew. Most people might not know what that means, but I think you might. But he was a guy that prayed 3 times a day, but he wouldn't wear his yarmulke in the street. Only when he would eat or pray. He'll wear his tzitzis. That's tzitzis. But then what happens? My childhood actually, but because the religion was great, I really got into the Jewish religion, praying and all that, but the problem was that one time I came out of school and I was 9 years old, and I had a kosher, the kosher food. There's you have the dairy plates and you have the meat plates, so you have to eat your food separately. Like if it's milk products or whatever, then you have certain plates for that, and for meat you have certain plates and utensils for that. So one time I came out of school and I had a dairy plate and I was eating a piece of chicken on it. The guy came from work and he seen me, grabbed me, threw me in the corner and beat me.
Wow.
He got really pissed off. He thought I did that on purpose. Look, the guy had 4 kids already from his previous marriage.
Jesus Christ.
So. And he married my mother. My mother was actually his wife because this UCLA. He went to UCLA and he got a master's degree in history. He's a history teacher. And what do you call it? So his first wife died in a car accident. And just to be quick, they had a child with them. She had the child in her arms, and she put the child down, and she died, but the child survived.
Christ.
But then he remarried. And he had a big scar on his arm, like about 40 stitches long. It was a big scar, I still remember.
Yeah.
But and then he remarried, and then he had 3 more children. And the first child was a son, and then he had 2 daughters and another son. So then he met my mother afterwards. He owned some stores, and then they didn't work out. He tried to open these cheap stores, like 99-cent stores, to make some money, but it didn't work out. But he went back to teaching and that, so he makes enough money with that. But then, so it was. So that what I'm trying to say is that was a footnote. But the reason I'm saying that is because he has my mother, but now he has this 9-year-old kid, And I wasn't the easiest kid. I was like a loner, and I was like I was living now in a different lifestyle, so it's difficult for me. So maybe I was a pain in the ass a little bit, but he couldn't put up with it. So anyway, so my mother came, this and that, and eventually the thing got solved. But then my mother had an idea for the summertime. She said, okay, you know what, I'm going to do something special for you. I said, oh, what? And I know she put me in camps before, but now it was getting more interesting because now she was putting me into a sleepaway camp for 2.5 months. Wow. And guess where she put me? She put me with the Lubavitcher Jews from Brooklyn, Crown Heights. Wow. So you can imagine. So I went there. These guys were great there, and I'll tell you something a little bit later, and then you'll understand. But you know, these guys were very religious. These were like the extreme of the extreme. I mean, these guys. I was coming. I'll get to that later, but I would pray 3 times a day. Like when I woke up from bed, we had to wash our hands and pray. It was like a whole 9 yards. It was like boot camp for being religious. So anyway, so after the summertime, we'll go back home, and then I told my mother, I want to be a rabbi. I mean, that's how much I wanted, and I really wanted that. That's how I felt, you know. So, but the thing was that I had issues with my mother and the husband. So it wasn't nothing about the religion, which I really embraced. It was nice. It was great. I even had a bar mitzvah. The problem was now when I was living with my mother and this guy. They were like home prison. Like my mother said, look, you can't use the living room, the television. Only stay in your room. If you need to go to the kitchen or the bathroom, fine.
Why?
You know, yeah. So like and like when I went to the bathroom, like you know, you're a kid. So when you urinate, maybe you spill. You know, you spill a few drops on the urinal. My mother said, oh, you have to clean that. You know, that's not good. That's okay, fine. And then, you know, there was times that I felt embarrassed, but there was times that I went to the bathroom and this guy would leave some of those spots, and then I had to clean his stuff because I was scared that I would get punished for it, you know? So
Jesus Christ.
It was a very paranoid atmosphere. So it was very hard for me. So at 13, I decided I wanted to go with my father, and then I had my mom ready, but later on that year, my mother gave birth to my sister, and then she said, okay, fine, you want to go with your father, go. But you know, the truth of the matter is that she loved me very much, but she wanted to have the best of 2 worlds. Like, she wanted to have her child, but then she wanted to have this good lifestyle. And the man wasn't really accepting of me. And I want to tell you something else. It was, which broke my heart more, was that the guy, you know, he punished me for eating that meat with that milk plate, with the dairy plate. But, you know, his son came over. He had a younger son, about a year younger than me. And the kid would go watch television in the living room. You know what the kid showed me? Like, this is how paranoid I was in the house. I couldn't touch anything, so I didn't know where everything was. You know what the kid did?
What?
He came to me, he goes, Eric, look at this. And you know what he shows me? He shows me a porn video.
Oh.
A porn video. And you know what he finds it? Behind the room. And then, you know, later on in my life, I think about that moment, and I said, you know, this kid, they made me crazy. And religion thing on me, but it wasn't about the religion. It was about himself and how he felt about me. You know, because actually when I was going to the camp and I came back, I was more religious than he was. You know, I was praying. I was more orthodox. I was even wearing my yarmulke in the streets, you know. So it wasn't about the religion. It was about the character of the person. So there's many things you can take out of this story. I'm even hearing it now in a different perspective for myself now. But so it was very shocking. But then when I was 13, I went with my father. Then I lived there for 6 months because my father's wife decided that, look, you know, you have your mother. I don't have. There's no reason for me to support you. You know, to be you. So my father had a big idea, like, okay, then you go live with my mother. So I had to live with my other grandmother.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a very stable life. So at 14, and let me tell you something. I just remember now because I was going to tell you the story at 14. But when I was 9 years old, I even ran away from my house.
Wow.
I actually lived in the neighborhood where Larry King came from. I found out. I don't know if you're a fan of Larry King. You don't have to mention it, yes, you know, but you stay mutual. But anyway, the neighborhood I lived in was Bensonhurst, and in the neighborhood for my father was Park Slope in Brooklyn.